Well, good afternoon, my friends. Wow. You have found the NeedleBugg. My name is Karen, and today I thought we'd do a bit of a stitch with me. I have a couple things to talk about. I have some notes over here on the side. So I thought, oh, why not? Let's stitch together and talk about the questions that I had that came in through the comments in the last maybe 2 weeks or so. So welcome. If you are new here, and I've seen an increase in subscribers lately, thank you so very much for joining us. I'm so very glad that you found us, and I hope you find something that you like here and will hang around. And for those of you who have been with me and keep coming back, thanks so very much for all your support and encouragement and everything that goes with it. So, what am I working on today? Well, I am back to working on Autumn Church by Dominique Davidson. And I guess I better get my chart out here or we won't be working on anything. Had a little bit of technical issues. Of course, so what else is new? Okay, anybody that's been with me for a while knows that I always have some kind of an issue when I'm doing a video, whether it be a recorded one or a live one. There's always something. Always. This time it was the sound again, and it was not coming through my speakers when I played music or whatever. Not that that necessarily affects the video, but I can't hear when it's done or when I want to stop it if it doesn't come through my speaker. So, yeah. How to fix that? Although I did get my other sound fixed. We hope. I think I did. So far, so good. Like I said, knock on wood. Gotta find my color here. Yeah. Once I think I have something fixed, then something usually makes a liar out of me is what happens. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So hopefully the sound is all okay on here today. My microphone seems to be picking up what it should. Let's hope it continues to stay that way. And for those of you that are looking here going, those of you that have been with me for a while know that I was having a dilemma. And my dilemma was, do I want to keep working on Autumn Church the way I have been, which is on 22 count, 1 strand of floss, so 1 over 1. 1 strand of floss over 1 thread of fabric. Now, this is on 22 count hardanger, so that weave is a little bit different than just 1 strand of fabric. It's 2 strands and 2 strands making up your intersections on this, but that's counted as 1 strand of fabric. So my dilemma was, do I want to continue on this or do I want to switch it to 32 count 1 over 1 10 stitch? And I toyed with this idea because I already have, all right, there's 346,000 stitches in this piece. Okay. We all know I already have some eyesight problems. However, that being said, since I was to a new eye doctor and my glasses are changed, and with a bit of magnification, I can see those higher counts again. Hallelujah, because those are the ones that I really love. But out of those 346,000 stitches, I already have over 17,000 finished. So the dilemma became, do I really, really, really want to start this over and do a 10 stitch? Or do I just want to keep going? And what I had already done was started a smaller project in 10 stitch. So I tossed and I turned, and we discussed it on a couple of my videos. And I think I finally came to the conclusion that my other piece in the 10 stitch will suffice to satisfy that need. And this one, I am going to continue as I have been doing it on the 22 count, 1 over 1, full cross. So that's where we are today. That's what I'm going to do. And I think that will make me happiest, because for truth be told, I can see the 32 count again. I can do the 10 stitch on it. I am enjoying it, but there's a but. But my eyes get tired. My eyes do get tired. And, you know, I don't want to overtire them, because as my eye doctor says, he can fix some of my blurry vision, and which he did. However, the part I have to fix is not overtiring my eyes. And if I do too many projects on that 32 count 10 stitch or on the higher counts and do them for too long a period of time, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I will be right back in the same dilemma. So, trying to be wise and proactive, I'm not going to switch this. I'm going to keeping on with what I was doing. So, that be that. But before I start this thread and go too much further, I had a viewer ask me, where did I put it here? Okay, I thought I had a piece of chalk out. But she asked me how to load the chalk in the bowhin pencil. Now, this is what I use to grid. I use this. It's a ceramic chalk, and you do have to refill it. And she asked me, how do you refill it? Well, first of all, the chalk comes in these little bitty cases, and I think there's like 6 pieces or so in a container. So you take your chalk and you just press on this end. So I'm just pressing that till it opens this up, and you just take the chalk, and don't have shaky hands, and put it in that hole, and then just push. Just push it in. Okay? So it's the same place that you push to bring your chalk out, that you just push but hold it open so that you can push your chalk in. And that's how you refill it, because they don't come apart as far as I know. I've never taken it apart. That's how I've always put the chalk in it. I just hold the end where you hold it to push the chalk out. Just hold it open and you can push the chalk in. So, honestly, I forget who asked me that, but whoever did, I hope that answers your question. So, and this chalk, I always gravitate towards the green, because on white, ivory, your light color fabrics, for me, the green seems to show up the best. There's yellow. If you're using a dark fabric, that would be okay. If you're using a dark dark fabric, the white would be okay. Now, I have not used either one of those because I don't normally stitch on darker fabrics. The one that I choose not to use is, there's a gray. It looks like a lead pencil when you put it on here. I found that one to not remove as easily as the green does. So I always just use the green. And 9 times out of 10, it rubs off. I think you can see over here where it's starting to rub off already. It rubs off before I even get to it, and I don't grid very far ahead just for that purpose. And I often will have to redo the lines. Now, that being said, there was a big discussion on my live about the friction pens, not the markers, but the pens. And a lot of people were telling me that they were having success with them and that the heat was removing them. The heat was removing the lines so that they weren't seen, but also, and I did not realize this, but I have not, this is the first time on this project I have ever even attempted to use one, because they always kind of gave me the willies. I was a bit scared of them. But the trick also is to, when you're done, make sure you wash your piece. And to me, that made sense because, yes, when you apply the heat, whether it be you iron it, whether it be you use a hairdryer or some other form of however you're going to put the heat on it so that the lines disappear, your lines may disappear because that's the chemical composition of the ink. However, the ink is still there. The ink itself doesn't magically disappear. What disappears is your ability to see it. So that's why when it's cold, the lines come back because that ink is still there. Or like Stitch Ilanka had problems even though it was warm outside and warm in her house. The lines came back. Now, she did not use, my understanding, and I didn't confirm this with her, but my understanding is she used the friction marker as opposed to the friction pen. So apparently there is a difference. Unbeknownst to me. See, I still learn new stuff every day too. I don't profess to know everything, and I'm just like the rest of you when it comes to knowledge. I might just have a little bit more in some areas, but there's stuff I don't know. And I will tell you that. And I learn new things all the time too. So the advice I was given is, if you use the friction pen, to just go ahead and make sure when you're finished with whatever project you're using it on, make sure you wash that project when you're done so that you can remove that ink. So that would mean make sure that you're adding some kind of soap, whether it be Orvis or Dawn or Dreft or whatever it is that you use to wash your needlework, so that you can remove, even if I don't know, does it remove it 100% or does it remove it enough so that those lines don't come back? So that's my latest update and up-to-date information as I know it. And I honestly forget who told me that. It was on a live, and I so appreciate knowing those kinds of things. Like I said, we all have something to learn every day. New stuff all the time. So now I'm going to start this thread. And I have given to, I'm threading my needle when I want to sew. Oh, heavens. Hold on here. There we go. I have started going back to a pin stitch again. Not a pin stitch. I lie. Strike that. Rewind. I've gone back to doing a loop start, a single strand loop start. Just because with the amount of, the amount of colors and color changes, it helps to keep the back a bit tidier. And if that end doesn't go, shoo. And I've also, I'll have to use my snag nabbit to get the rest of that down. I've also taken to being sure I stitch two-handed more often, because I find that even though my arm is a whole lot better, if I do this, one-handed back and forth, which really is my preferred method. I mean, that's the way, that's the way I stitched for many, many years. I never even tried to stitch two-handed at one point in time. But I find if I do it too long, then here where I tore things from picking up the cat, it gets very sore and burns. And that's just not a nice feeling. So the more I can stitch two-handed, the better off I am. And I'm really, it was for a long, long time that I could stitch faster one-handed than I can two-handed. However, since I am doing it more, I think I've acquired a much better, I've improved my muscle memory is really what it amounts to. And it's getting that I can motor along pretty well stitching two-handed anymore, especially if I have chunks of color. As you see, I mean, I can clip along pretty good. Now, that brings me to another question that I had, and we had talked about this on the last live stream that I had, which would have been on Saturday. Had discussions about stitching methods. And during that discussion, there were quite a few of us that totally agreed that the chart will tell you how it wants to be stitched. And when I say that, what I mean is the chart will tell you how it wants you to stitch it. Okay? It might tell me something different. It might tell somebody else something different also. This one, for example, I started out Well, I started out on the diagonal and I was going to stitch it diagonally. And I found when I got over into here and here, with the exception of the window pane, I should have put a picture up and I don't think I have one in here. My head went, why? Why am I stitching this diagonally and limiting myself to 10 stitches when I got a whole big chunk of color where I could just stitch it all, which in turn would go much faster. Not that we're all about speed, because we're not, but always that infamous but, isn't it? But it would be a time saver. You know, to finish this, what did I say? I wanted to finish this by December 2025. So that's 23, 24, 25. So that's over 3 years. And in order to do that, no, that's not what I did. Hold on, I'll tell you. Let me find my, how many of you use Stitch Pal? That's a wonderful app too, and it predicts how many stitches you have to do. Okay, in order to finish this, I lie, by December 31st, 2024, so that would be 23, 24, that total amount of time then would be 2.5 years. I have to stitch 405 stitches a day, every day, until December 31st, 2024. So that tells me I want to try and find a way that I'm going to be able to accomplish that, because right now it tells me I better get to work. So if I make that I don't have a target date, and up to now my average, because I have worked on other things, so I don't stitch on it every day. Up to now, my average stitches per day is 207. And I would not finish this until February of 2027. Now, I'm not all about the finishing. Someone, who was that? I didn't write it down. But I was answering someone today from a comment, and the comment was about charts telling you how it wants to be stitched and the method of stitching. And her comment was just spot on as far as I'm concerned. And it shouldn't be so much about the method. It should be more about enjoying what you're stitching. So just stitch it however it makes you happy. And that's the bottom line. You know, and like I said, if you're in an area of high confetti, sure, maybe going row by row and parking till you get through that area might be exactly the thing that you need to do, or that will help you to do it better or more accurately or faster, or whatever your goal happens to be. If you're in an area like this where this was just 2 colors in here, so it made more sense. And the chart said to me, just stitch the color. Just stitch all of the color in the area. And as you see here, I did. I worked my way down with one color. And now, really, all I have to do is go back and fill in that second color. Well, that stitches really fast. I mean, to the point that on one day I did, hold on. That's why I love this app. I did almost 500 stitches. In fact, that was just yesterday. Because I was color completing. I was filling in stitches or color where I had already done the one color. I just had to fill in the second one. So when I say a chart tells you how it wants to be stitched, that's really what we mean. It mean, do you really need to stick to one method or your method indefinitely, no matter where you're at in the chart or what the symbols say? The symbols say here, oh, I got big chunks of color. Maybe I want to do that different. Oh, here there's a ton of confetti. Maybe I want to do that different. Some stick to strictly, they have their method, and that's their method no matter what. And that's okay too, because you know what? Everybody needs to find what it is that works for them, that brings them joy. Because really, bottom line is that's what it's all about. And really, as this person said, does the method really matter? What really matters is, are you enjoying what you're doing? And if you're not enjoying it, then you need to find something else. Then you need to put that project in timeout. Maybe in 6 months you can pull it out and we'll enjoy it. But if you're not enjoying it, don't do it. Life's too short. Life is way too short to spend your time working on something or doing something that you are not having fun with. So I hope that answers the question of what do you mean when the chart tells you how to stitch it. And in addition to that, not only is it chunks of color, it's the direction of that color. So if you're stitching one method, and take on the diagonal, for example, and you're stitching your rows or your diagonal columns from the top towards the right to the bottom towards the left, but your color is going from left to right, you're kind of working against yourself in a sense. So, pardon me. So maybe you want to travel those colors a little different rather than down the column. Maybe you want to go across. Again, do what works for you and however you're going to enjoy what you're doing. Pardon me, getting a scratch. Ooh, and a hiccup. Scratchy throat. So that's what that means. It may mean something different for somebody else. And sometimes I hear my charts yelling at me. I really do. Sometimes they are just yelling at me. Do this, no, do this. But that's how, and we're all different, and heaven forbid, isn't that wonderful that we are all different? Because if we were all the same, what a boring world this would be. Okay, where am I here? I am right here. See, I was on such a roll that then when I stopped, I had to figure out where I was. But again, and what I'm doing now is because this was all solid, now I have a window frame. I'm just going to fill in the window frame. And then when I get over here, it's all sky again. And I'm back to, because I'm using markup and there is not an update out yet. I'm going page by page at the present time. My understanding is with the next update, it will put your pattern together the same way that Pattern Keeper does. So it will take your, I don't know, this has probably 60 pages, roughly thereabouts, and it will put it together as one big chart, just like Pattern Keeper does. So that's a nice thing. I have found myself leaning more towards the markup app than Pattern Keeper these days. I like the statistics. I don't mind working page by page, but I like the statistics, and they are, just like Pattern Keeper, they're making improvements all the time, just the same way that Pattern Keeper is doing updates and changing things and adding things for people. The one difference is, though, markup is an annual fee as opposed to a one-time buy. And I think Pattern Keeper is still a once and done payment. Although, don't quote me on that, because I really have not used it for a while. So I could very well be wrong on that. Let me mark things off here. Yeah, I could very well be telling you false information. I hope not, but it could be. Okay, I didn't want to do that. I want to pick this stitch back out because I want to end my thread. So I'm also ending with a loop finish. Okay, so I'm make my loop. I'm going to come up and go through my loop, take it back down. Now, what I'm doing differently is most people, when they do the loop finish, they do just what I did, and then they bring this up a ways away, a few stitches away, so that they're stitching over a tail. What I started doing is I bring it up over in the opposite corner. Can I get you in a little bit closer? Hold on, here we go. There we go, in the opposite corner. Okay, so this is the corner that my loop went down in. This is the opposite corner. Now, what I started doing is I started going underneath this X. Okay. And it's a little fussy with the ballpoint needle. And if I can go underneath the next one, I will. And then I push my needle to the back. Okay, and that anchors it again. And then I bring my needle up and clip off my thread. And I have been having a lot of success with that. And it helps tidy up your back a bit, especially when you're in high confetti areas. So if I have to end a thread, I'll show you that again. I don't know that I'll have to end another thread while we're in here, but one never knows. So now I will, because I have this simple color, this little bit of color here. 3861. I should have pulled the colors ahead of time, do you think? Heaven forbid, why would I be that why would I be that organized? That's not gonna happen. What did I say? 3861. There we go. So I'll do those couple stitches and then I'll show you again how I did that, since we're a bit closer here that I can show you. Oh, let's see. I had another question from Anna E. I can't remember what her last name doesn't matter. Her first name was Anna. And she did not realize that there was a 32 count gridded fabric. So Anna, yes, there is. And the gridded fabrics come in, and guys, if I'm wrong here, correct me, 18 count, 20 count, 25 count, 28 count, and 32 count. I believe that's all of them, so that you can pick. And then she asked me for advice on stitching on 20 count. Now, I'm not sure because I don't remember if it was, no, she was thinking she had to do a 10 stitch. That was my understanding when I read her comment, that she was thinking she had to do a 10 stitch. But Anna, no, you don't have to do a 10 stitch. You can use your 20 count just exactly like you use any other Aida, because your 20 count gridded fabric is a 20 count Aida cloth. So it's not an even weave like your 25, 28, and 32 count. It's an Aida cloth like 18 count. So really, there's nothing different about stitching on that than there is stitching on 18 count, 16 count, 14 count, even this 22 count. You do your X's just as you always do. There's really nothing that you would have to do special. 10 stitch. Okay, when I stitch on 20 count, personally, I just use one strand of floss. I am happy with that coverage. The way I stitch and my tension, that coverage is an elegant sufficiency for me. Some people don't like the coverage of just one strand and they'll use two, which that's certainly okay. For me, that's a bit for my taste, only my taste, that's a bit crowded. But again, that's the reason why we all should do some test stitching before we make up our minds of what we're going to, what our final choices are going to be as far as stitching. Do the test stitching, because what I like and what someone else likes are really quite different. 25, take 25 count, for example. Me personally, I would not use any more than one strand of floss on 25 count, unless I was doing a tent stitch, and then yes, I would use two. However, there are a lot of people out there that if they're going to stitch on on 25 count, they want to use 2 strands of floss for a full cross. And that's okay. That's fine. For me and my taste, that's too bulky. But again, that's my choice. As is, 2 strands of floss is their choice, and it's perfectly okay. So it's a matter of do the test stitching. Test it with one strand. Test it with 2 strands. Test it with full cross. Test it with tent stitch. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to do that, and it cuts into your actual stitching time. But is that time spent before you actually start more valuable than stitching and then you stitch it and start stitching and you're happy? Or would you rather not spend that time, stitch a page and a half, which is probably in the neighborhood of 10 or more thousand stitches, and decide I really don't like this and have to start all over? So to take an hour and a half and do the test stitching versus stitching a page and a half or more, which will take, what? Depends on how fast you stitch. Could take a week, could take 2 weeks, could take a month, and then decide you don't like it? Where was your time better spent? Test stitch. Just my advice. Take it for what it's worth. It's probably not worth a hill of beans, but just take it for what it's worth. Okay, I'm going to finish this thread again. So I am in my bottom right corner. I need to complete my X. So I am going to go down again, or I came up the bottom right corner. I'm going to go down in the bottom right corner. Right corner. I'm going to come up in the top left. I'm going to go through my loop, and I always leave a big loop and then put my needle through it because I just find it easier than trying to fish through a little loop. Okay, so I went through my loop. I'm going to pull that to the back, and that completed my X. That got a little distorted here. I'm trying to get a little more thread here so I can straighten that out a little bit. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to come up in this opposite corner, and I'm going to go underneath this X. And here, when I get to the back of it, it's always a little awkward. I like to do it from the side, but see how my needle is coming out there? When it starts to come out, I push it down through the fabric to the back. Gently, gently pull. And then come up again anywhere. I keep losing things today. And cut it off. I'm rather enjoying it. So, what am I at here? 45 minutes. Wow. Time surely does fly, doesn't it? When you're having so much fun. Oh, lost my thread. Okay, I think Oh, wow. Yeah. I think, well, I always intend to do just a half an hour, and I always end up doing more. So I think what I'm going to do is 3 shout outs, and then I'm going to call it a day. So let me switch my screen here. There we go. Hello. So I have 3 shout outs for you today. Let's get this up out of the way. There we go. You don't want to see that in my face, do you? So my first shout out is Holly of My Daily Haed. Wow. She has some absolutely fantastic projects that are all full coverage, and they are just gorgeous. And she is just a very nice, pleasant person. So go give her a look and see how you like her, and if so, subscribe. She needs some subscribers, so let's spread a little love. The next one, especially for those of you that like Hardanger and have taken some of, or have gone through my Hardanger videos, the other channel that you might enjoy is Running with Scissors, Stitching with Jane and Julie. Now, Julie of Jane and Julie happens to be Julie Norton, who is a designer of Hardanger embroidery. And she has some beautiful pieces. And not only does she design Hardanger, she designs other projects that have Hardanger in them. So do check them out. Do also give them some love. They have a really nice channel. Not only do they show projects that they're working on, things that they've completed. Julie is a phenomenal finisher. She has done some absolutely gorgeous finishing that she has shown. And they also have a segment on technique. And I can't remember what exactly she calls it. I want to say delightful techniques, but I could be wrong on that. But do check them out. It is a lovely channel. So I think, especially those of you that do Hardanger, you will really enjoy that. And the last one I have, I really only watched part of her first video, but it is Sage Butterfly Designs, and her name is Penny, and she is working on some very lovely projects. Seems like a very nice young lady. She's venturing into the world of full coverage. So Penny, watch out. Fair warning, it's a rabbit hole you might get stuck in once you start doing full coverage. Some of those other ones kind of slipped by I should say, for me, once I did full coverage, those other ones started slipping by the wayside. But she has also started a chatelaine. I can never say that right. So check her out also. She has some very nice projects. And she also showed some things that she designs. So, give her some love. She doesn't have many subscribers yet. It looks like she's really, really new. So she needs a little floss tube love. So go check her out and send her some. So with that, my friends, I think I am going to call this a day. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do this evening, but we shall see. We shall see. Probably stitch. So with that, I hope all of you find your joy. You find that stitching method that makes you happy, because that's what it's all about. So You know the drill here, my friends. You know the philosophy is the only rules in cross stitch are the ones you make for yourself. And we have now added to that, never say never, because you're going to eat those words. So until next time, I will see you then. Take care. Have an awesome rest of your week. And bye-bye for now.